Newsday. I'm going to kind of start back at the top as we tend to do sometimes halfway through the show in the afternoon. First up, let's start with the weather again. Not a whole lot of alarming stuff. The cold weather is still going to be the talk about thing for days. And we still don't have, even if we get past this weekend and some of the super dangerous, just dangerously cold, we've got these dangerous cold weather advisories. And somebody pointed out to me yesterday as well that, it can feel at times colder in the south when the temperature gets this low because of the humidity. It's also part of, it's just like the, in the summertime when we have the heat index, that moisture kind of air that we tend to have in the south can be part of the equation. So it's just going to be brutal. So y'all dress for it. Now, as far as snow, they haven't completely removed it for parts of Alabama tonight. But all they're talking about is a potential dusting, and usually that line continues to be. Let me scroll over here and see what is happening with if perhaps there was a new map in the last few minutes. Yeah, they still got maybe a chance of accumulation across the northern part of the state. Georgia is much more in the vicinity of this thing than I was trying to look at this timeline to see when they thought it was going to come in. So it'll move in a little bit like a front, and there is that outside chance that we could see a little bit of accumulation in parts of, again, Coleman over to Jasper, perhaps even over toward Aniana. Nothing major. Could be interesting to watch. We had a little fun with it a little while ago. So we'll keep an eye on it. If they give us another update, of course, we'll let you know about it. The main thing is I would just take care of what I call your infrastructure, your pipes, your kids, your pets. Just don't leave them outside too long if you got pets that go in and out. And anybody that's vulnerable to heat loss. The situation when it gets like this could turn critical in a hurry. I mean, it goes from being a little bit cold and uncomfortable, but if you lose heat and there's a sudden collapse of your ability to heat yourself, you've got real problems. So take care of all that. Gas up your cars before you go out traveling around and make sure you're good to go no matter what happens out there. And we'll get through this weekend. A little bit of a warm-up next week, but there's that. We'll wait and see if we get any of those flurries tonight. It's always fun. Man, winter's just going to hang around, I guess. Let's see. Let me go back to pull my list up, and we'll go back to the top and get into it. Don Lemon off to the pokey. He's in federal court apparently this afternoon. I see a headline right here that says Don Lemon in federal court after LA arrest. Okay, now that sorts it out for me. We won't see video of that. They don't allow video cameras in the federal courthouse, so we will not be seeing any kind of video, or as we call it in the business sometimes, a perp walk from the Don Lemon situation today. But he got busted last night for that stunt where they attacked those people in that church. That's what it was. I mean, you had kids, you had worshipers doing their thing in their congregation. These people barge in and start yelling and disrupting and scaring the hell out of the kids, and then bragging about it on camera as Lemon did before, during, and after the event, but somehow held himself too superior to be arrested. Or that because he had at one point spent time in journalism, well, that gives him a free pass to abuse other people's rights. That's not how our country works. And while he got a little bit of a reprieve from a very hyper-partisan judge that cut him loose initially, he got himself a nice set of chrome bracelets this afternoon and is facing some pretty significant charges on the federal level. It's the conspiracy against rights charge and a charge against what's called the FACE Act. And by the way, this is the same use of the law that was overused during the Biden administration against some of the January 6 people. And so good for Don Lemon. I hope he gets a nice prison name. Do you think he'll mind that much? Maybe he will. I don't know. Speak to the microphone, Don. Speak to the microphone. What else we got? Let's go. Omar. Let's start with her. Man, it's just a hit list of corruption this afternoon. New reporting on her husband's businesses. What's this all about? So we know about the wine business. It was a complete fraud, and they scammed millions of dollars out of somebody. Now, what we don't know about right now on the record, what we don't know from Omar, was this taxpayer money funneled through her Somalian brothers and sisters into these phony businesses that they also all had, or was this a donor that wanted to prop her up for some reason, or somebody that just, for some reason, wanted to slip them some side money, which does happen in that business and in that town. We don't know all those details yet. So we're waiting on that. But the new development last night was the finance advising business. And turns out it didn't exist. On the record, they had told people they were in multiple countries and they had assets and offices in these places and gave advice. And based on the publicly available information right now, they didn't have a single client. They didn't register with the Securities and Exchange Commission. One report said they never even filed a tax ID. It wasn't a business. And there's $20+ million reported in value on her own reports. So what gives? Now you know why she was squirted this week. This, when you're up to something, you know you're up to something. Before people find out you're up to something, you already know. And that's what I think is happening here with this woman's mania and her defense. And it's her husband, of course, directly involved in these phony things too. Now, speaking of that, yes, I have seen the Katie Britt stories about the financial filing that she's been popped with. It came from an anonymous online source. Honestly, I sort of blew it off. I don't criticize Senator Britt just to do it. And it's not even personal. I don't know the young lady at all. It's just the machine politics that I have a huge problem with as to how she matriculated into that office. And she's done some things I can applaud for sure. But this personal stuff, let me try to give some treatment to that because I keep getting questions online about, well, what's going on with that? I will say in her defense, campaign reporting requirements can be a little cloudy. The accusation is that she's on the banking committee and her husband in his retirement fund made some investments into, I think it was JP Morgan, and then the stock rose 30% after those investments. And she failed to report it on some of the campaign finance type or ethics reports that Congress people have to report on their assets. And so the delay was the bigger problem. There was a reporting of it. I don't know that it was intentional or designed to hide anything. I don't know. I just don't know that, because sometimes I'm telling you, I've dealt with these reports. I've had to be part of people filing them and filling them out. Some things get missed. It does happen. Democrats and Republicans can still just make simple mistakes. So I'll give a little breathing room there. But the weird thing about that story, and the only thing that made my right eyebrow go, was when there was a statement put out by her folks that she gave their profits to charity. And then I went, okay, that's PR. That's kind of cover up-ish. It feels like you got caught doing something and you're trying to get your angel wings back with a PR move because something was wrong. And if it was a simple error and not intentional, why give the money back? Why give the money to charity if it's not ill-gotten gains or something wasn't nefarious about it? The problem is sometimes, and I'm just giving cheap, free PR advice to these politicians from time to time, sometimes you can turn a one-day story into a 5-day story by the way you react to it. And I don't think this charitable contribution is going to help make the story go away. And I don't think that's probably, it was I guess the way I'd characterize it, it's a bit of an overreaction, and I don't know why. And I'm not accusing her of anything because I don't know. I don't know. I know it's a weird world. But you've got to you need plausible deniability in any of your finance accounts. In other words, I work for a member of Congress that put all of his accounts in a blind operation where he had no control or knowledge about where the money was invested, and created that firewall, even when the ethics of the time did not require that, just to be above that kind of suspicion, right? And I remember there was an incident. This was Bob Riley when he was in Congress, and then he, of course, ran for governor. And one of the first accusations is that he was trading in defense company stocks while being on the Armed Services Committee. Well, that's an easy accusation to make. It sounds similar to what's going on here, that you were inside trading or using your position to do this or that. Well, it turns out the way we handled that situation was just to explain, this is a 401k investment plan that does not work under the direction of the elected person, and the elected person, in this case, Riley, had no knowledge of what the portfolio looked like. It was shielded by design, and that was a good preemptive move to make ahead of being involved in politics. The story went away because most people, we ask a simple question to people that were looking at it: what's in your 401k? What are you invested in? Because I don't know either. I've got one. I don't sit and look at the regular trades and what they bought today or yesterday. I look at that bottom line, and I look at the growth trend, and I look at the percentage yield, and then I don't look at it sometimes. Sometimes I'm afraid to look at it. But that's the way most Americans understood. And so the voters in that case were much more sophisticated than the fools that tried to bring this charge in the world of politics. And that story wound up not being anything. So I guess here's my lesson there. For all of you that are running for office this year, you have to be above reproach in everything you do, whether you want to or not, or whether it seems silly or not. There's no amount of caution that you can spare yourself if you want to keep silly, cloudy allegations from coming against you when they're completely unfair. Sometimes it is unfair. So having said all that, I'll give a little room to see what the Brits wind up doing or saying about this case, but it doesn't sound like something that's going to connect. And I'll give you one other angle on this too. People are so cynical about people in office that they almost expect stories like this, and they don't even connect some days, like campaign finance irregularities. You got to check past a deadline, or some money came in from some source, or those kind of things. We are almost numb, and so numb and cynical to this stuff. There's almost an assumption that everybody's doing it somewhere, and that's bad on us. We should hold these people more accountable. But anyway, I thought I'd give a little treatment to all that business as we get going this hour. Is this Ken in Mountville? We'll go to some phones. Y'all, we got lots of time for phone calls the next hour and a half or so, as we've kind of lightened up with the headlines. Ken, what's up in Mountville? What you doing tonight?
Hey, Pops.
Hello, man.
We have gotten to the point in this country to where everything has happened, including political assassinations lately. The only thing that hasn't happened is suicide bombers. And I guess that maybe that'll happen a little later. I don't know. But we're in a poor state. But anyway, what I'm actually calling about is I bet all the, the pedophiles in this country that have been convicted, they have to register, I guess, with the sheriff's department or whatever to reveal where their address is going to be. But I bet all the pedophiles in these sanctuary cities, I bet not a one of them are registered. What do you think?
You mean are you meaning the illegal immigrant pedophiles, or which pedophiles?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they're not going to register with anybody they don't have to. They're kind of ghosts in our system. And it's amazing to me that, I tell you what is amazing to me, some of the data that the feds have when they go in to make these arrests, the warrants, the history, some of the stuff that they do know about these folks and how they got here, when they crossed, what they did when they were arrested. That's pretty amazing that stuff even exists at all, if you ask me, and it's how they're able to make these cases.
Yeah, I guess they have a database they can pull that up off of somewhere. Yep. There was something else I was going to tell you, but it's going to skip my mind. I guess I'll have to call you another time. But I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, buddy. I do that all the time. I've done it at least 10 times.
It don't get no better either.
Don't tell me that. I'm right in the middle of something.
I'll
just stop what I'm doing. Thanks, man.
I'd be lying to you if I told you different.
All right, Ken. Thanks, buddy. He reminds me, I was working on a little project I was doing on my Jeep today, getting it tricked out for some travel. And, dude, AJ, you ever do this? I walked away from the Jeep 5 feet, and I forgot everything I was doing. I was like, why am I standing here? What was I going to do? I just went into some kind of time warp for about 5 seconds. I thought, okay, here it's already started.
Yeah, I'm getting to the age where I've done that, where I'll be doing something, and then I'm like, what am I doing?
Why did I walk in this room? Why did I walk in this room? All right, y'all, let's do this thing. Let's get the next break up in here. We'll tell y'all real quick about Storm Restoration Roofing. I was just chatting back and forth with Greg. I don't know if I could tell this story or not. He wanted me to remind y'all. Greg Nelson, of course, Storm Restoration Roofing, almost 30 years in the business. The guy knows everything you need to know about a roof project, how to get it done, how to get it done right. The one thing he really understands is about your insurance claims. And he texted me this morning and he sent me this story about a guy. I don't want to give you too many details, but a guy who went ahead and called his adjuster before he called Greg to get a real analysis of what was going on. And because he sort of did it backwards, his claim got denied with his insurance company. You got to make your case. If they can do your claim plausibly, they're going to do it. But if your roofer is up there and he's already found the exact cause of this or that, and he can determine the exact lifespan of what's left on your roof and all these nuances that have to happen to make a compelling case to the insurance company. If you can't do that yourself, if they have an out in the fine print of that contract, they're going to turn you down. The lesson from Greg was, please tell your audience to make sure they call me first. And I told him, I think I do that every day, Greg, but I will emphasize that. And then he got back to me and it was like, no, it was another show I advertised on, and they're also buddies of mine. He goes, and I said, well, their audience isn't as smart as ours. I just had to say that. No, I'm kidding. He's a good guy, and people think the world of him once you get to know him. And when it comes to your roof, it's one of those things. I'm the same way. I don't think about my roof. I think about it when I do the spot every day, but you're not always thinking about your roof job. But when it comes time, man, it can be a shock. The deductibles, even if you're coming out of pocket on your own anyway, and it's just time because you got an old roof, that can be cost prohibitive. So let Greg help you get lined up with these finance companies that he's managed to get on board. They specialize in these projects and they get it, and they can help you not have to come out of pocket, but still take good care of your home. And when he and his sons are on it and his daughters are helping and his family's involved, it's going to be done right. And guess what? The insurance companies trust him too, because he's been around so long. They trust him to give them the straight skinny on what's happening. And that means you've got a professional representative helping you transact this stuff. It's a business deal sometimes. Y'all, at Storm Restoration Roofing, Greg, for years, has just worked straight off a phone number. And he'll get right with you and get over there and get you an estimate. And also keep this number somewhere for emergencies, because you never know when out of the blue you're going to have a problem and you're going to be scratching around trying to find Greg's number. So here we go. Greg Nelson, Storm Restoration Roofing. Here's the number: 205-542-3531. 205-542-3531. Storm Restoration Roofing. Back in a minute. All right, y'all get back in here. Let's go. Let's go. Back to the Epstein files for a second. I'm solely dependent on all these people, all these little nosy busybodies going through these things and trying to find headlines. I mean, it's weird stuff in here, and it's discombobulated. It's just all over the place. None of it, as we've said over and over and over, really, for even before these files came out, none of it points to anything definitively. But there's one document in here that I just saw come across about 30 minutes ago that Epstein, while talking to Michael Wolff, y'all know who Michael Wolff is, the former, I guess he's former journalist and also wrote some tantalizing books. I think he might have written an Epstein book. But anyway, in an email to Epstein, to Michael Wolff from Epstein, Epstein admits that, quote, Donald Trump never got a massage from his place or his people. He, quote, the quote was, he never got a massage. This explains, it says here, why Democrats have been retreating on this issue. So not only is there not anything credible about Trump in there, that they kept telling you there was. I mean, there are people that will, even some local Alabama politicians and others that have a little bit of a following, will just say definitively that Trump is a rapist. Some people have been sued and lost their cases over that accusation, by the way. But as it relates to Epstein, they'll say things even worse than that. There's nothing in these documents so far today that really points to any of that. In fact, what it does point to is the consistency of Trump's version of their relationship. Yes, they knew each other, hung out in the same elitist, rich circles. Trump was around him at parties and events, had his picture made with him. And at one point, they had a falling out over something to do with his Mar-a-Lago club. And Trump went and helped the FBI look into him. The FBI called him and said, hey, will you help us with Epstein? He goes, you bet I will. And he did. But yet, you've got these anonymous tipsters from foreign governments that have no substantiation, that make wild-ass claims. And all the bedwetters running around today start claiming that Trump's in the Epstein files. And then what is in the Epstein files are actual communications from Epstein saying, no, Trump wasn't around here. Trump didn't have anything to do with this stuff. All right. If anything else develops on that, I'll let you know. We're watching all of it this afternoon. Crazy Friday. 545-9950 if you want to get on the radio.